Which one y'all want between Tim Tebow, Cam Newton, Joe Burrow, or Vince Young? Maria, you go first. Out of
Tim
the four,
Tebow,
why Tim Tebow?
greatest college quarterback ever. I don't care what nobody say. That's why
Mm.
I'm taking Tim Tebow. Give me Tim. Joe Barrow close, but give me Tim Tebow. Like I said, he's the greatest college quarterback ever. I rest my case.
Okay, Zay, what's your thoughts?
Well, my answer is gonna be Cam Newton because
Oh,
for one, Tim Tebow is actually probably the most overrated quarterback of all time in college. That's for one.
Mm.
For two, Cam Newton was elite throughout college. We all saw what he was doing. He was dominating teams, and his team wasn't even amazing. It's not like he had a great receiving core. He didn't have a great team when he went to college. So what he was able to do with that team and what he was looking like and how he was dominating defenses is Cam Newton for sure. But
Dev,
Joe Burrow would be second for me.
all right, that's cool. Dev, man, which one would you want between the four?
and hey, Zay took the words out of my mouth. Give me Cam.
Uh, yeah, I can. We can hear you. You said you want Cam. Well, you and I we talked about this
Oh,
between Cam or Vince Young. You said, yeah, and you said Cam because of what he had to deal with at the time at Auburn compared to Vince
yeah.
Young. Although Cam only did for like 1 year, but Cam, you won't find a more dominating season than Cam. And considering the lack of talent that he had, which tells you how special he was.
Like
So,
Cam on that football field. I'm sorry.
no, go ahead, Dev. Go ahead.
No, I'm saying Cam at Auburn. He was like a man amongst boys when he was at Auburn. Like he's making SEC players look bad. Like they couldn't bring him down. He was getting his people wide open. And that run, he had like 30 touchdowns and 7 interceptions. His ratio was good, and Cam was just different that year. I'm going with Cam.
And he also had 20 plus touchdowns on the ground as well.
Yeah,
Exactly.
he had like 50 touchdowns, less than 10 interceptions. He led
Yep.
the team in rushing, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember who the running back was at that time, but
I don't know. Name the starter. Name the
I,
extra
I, I,
receiver on
I
the team.
remember the running backs. They had Mario Fannin, the senior running back. They also had Antonio McCaleb, and they also had Michael Dyer, the true freshman
yep.
quarterback, true freshman running back, who broke Bo Jackson's freshman record for the most rushing yards. And the wide receivers Cam had were Darvin Adams,
Yep.
Terrell Zachary, Emery Blake, Cody
Yeah.
Burns.
Yep.
They had the tight end, rest his soul, Philip Lutson Kirkin. But offensively, it was Cam or bust. The second best player was Nick Fairley, the defensive tackle.
Yep.
So,
He fairly was tough.
yeah, he was tough though. But when you look at Tim Tebow, and I agree with you, Zay, you could say Tim Tebow was overrated because even though he had the more
Yeah, Percy
accomplished career,
Harvin.
no, not just Percy
Wait,
Harvin, he also had the Pouncey brothers. He had
Yep.
he had Aaron Hernandez, he had Carlos Dunlap, he had Janoris Jenkins. He had a shitload of talent.
and to be funny, Cam Newton as a
Was
freshman,
also there. He was also
Yeah.
there.
He had Percy Harvin too.
Yeah.
and then man Joe Burrow, and Joe had my fault. What's up?
So just because Tim Tebow had talent around him, that makes him overrated. I mean, it's not
No,
his fault though that
no,
he
no.
had all this.
That's
No,
how I'm saying.
but
That's what Zay's saying.
skill wise, people act like Tim Tebow was more skilled than any of the quarterbacks up there that were on that list, and he's not. The reason that, to me, the reason that some of his numbers look the way they did is because of the players he had around him. I don't
Right.
skill wise, I don't think he was better than any of those other three.
Would you say Tim Tebow better than Caleb Williams? You could actually make an argument Caleb Williams over Tim
an
Tebow.
argument. You
Oh
can make
Lord.
the argument.
You can say that. If you want me to be nasty, I might go with my boy Deshaun Watson in college. I'm not gonna be getting
Oh
nasty.
Lord, yeah, y'all.
I'm a
y'all-
Deshaun.
yeah.
I know I'm
The
a
only
Clemson
Y'all
fan.
tweaking.
The
Yeah,
only
Deshaun
problem
was different.
with Joe Burrow is the fact that you can also say Joe Burrow played with Jay Jettis and
Lamar
Top
Chase.
talent, top
and
tier
at the
And he
same
talent.
had what's his name,
Top
Randy
tier.
Moss.
which is probably, when I think about it, why I'd put Vince Young above him. But Tim Tebow had even more than Joe Burrow, and Joe Burrow had a ton.
I wouldn't say overrated though.
But he was still the best player
No,
on the
he's
team.
overrated.
Tim
But-
Tebow was playing with all that talent and was still the best player on his team.
For me,
I mean that.
Dre!
I mean that's a whole new debate, but you know,
Who was it?
which year?
He was there for 4 years. Remember, Maria? Remember, he was the backup to Chris.
I can't
Lee.
lie. Percy Harvin was different. He might be. I think Percy might have been the best player for one of those years.
Because Percy Harvin was there.
Yeah, and remember Tebow, he sat behind Chris Leak. Chris Leak was actually good though. You know, people forgot how good he was coming out of college.
People forgot about him.
Yeah. I just think people like Tim Tebow a lot more because of the personality. You know, Tim Tebow wears the Lord on his sleeve and stuff like that. I just think that's why people just adore them more. I mean, you wouldn't find no bigger supporter of Tim Tebow than Skip Bayless. But when I look at
he was like that though. But
but skill wise, Tim Tebow nowhere near Cam, nowhere near Burrow, nowhere near Vince Young, not Caleb, not Deshaun, not Trevor Lawrence, not any of these quarterbacks though.
Justin Fields.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence in college was crazy. Come on now.
Yeah. Brandon is still getting mad at Trevor Lawrence because he gets tired of people saying Trevor Lawrence better than Justin.
He's the most.
Hey man, we talking about college right now, not NFL.
Yeah, I know.
That's why he has a personal bias.
No, he ain't biased.
It's just Z baby. It's just Z baby. That's it, Brandon. I know it is. It's just Z baby.
Wait, y'all think Trevor Lawrence is better than Justin Fields in college?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude won a national championship as a freshman. He went to 3 college football playoffs. He won the 2 national championships his first 2 years. He won a national championship. Matter of fact, after that national championship against Alabama, a lot of people said had he been eligible for the draft, he would have been a number 1 overall pick. And by the way, that was the same year in which Kyler Murray won the Heisman and was selected the number 1 overall pick by the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah,
I could have saw him getting picked above him.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely. And then a year after that, he probably wouldn't have he wouldn't have probably went number 1. He probably would have went number 1 a year after. But Trevor Lawrence, I think his college career was crazy because he didn't have the same level of receiver talent. Well, he didn't have talent receivers. I don't want to get it twisted, but he was making a lot of tough throws and he was very mobile. And he was just very talented. I think he was probably one of the more talented college quarterbacks ever.
No, don't forget what Joe Burrow did in the Fiesta Bowl compared to Joe. People forget how bad Tim Tebow didn't really look too good against. I believe it was Oklahoma in that BCS championship.
He didn't play particularly well, but they overlooked that and they bring up the halftime speech in which he gave, in which that kind of motivated the team in order for them to win against Oklahoma. But when you look at Tim Tebow, as far as career-wise, he won a Heisman, perennial Heisman finalist, 2 national championships. But from a talent or a skill-wise, and we got Jay Bailey back on the pod. Jay Bailey, I don't know if you paid attention to the conversation we just had. If you had a choice between Tim Tebow, Cam Newton, Joe Burrow, or Vince Young, out of one of the 4, which one would you want? And
as a college or in the NFL?
College.
Oh, Vince.
All right, I can't blame you with
Tebow.
Vince. I mean, he did have the greatest. He may have arguably the greatest national championship performance.
Yeah,
It's right
he
up,
showed up in exactly why I took him.
yeah, against USC. I mean, the only ones I would challenge Vince though was Deshaun's against Alabama, the second one. You could argue for
True.
Deshaun in that national championship, but Vince has to be in that conversation. So I would go with Cam. What he did that year in 2010 on and off the field, because he was dealing with a lot of scrutiny at the time in Auburn because of him and his father, the play-for-play scandal. And his father didn't even attend the Heisman ceremony because he didn't want to become a distraction to his son, taking away the Heisman moment. But what
I didn't even
Cam
know
did,
that.
yeah, that's what happened. But what Cam did that year, 30 touchdowns on the year, 20 on the ground, beat Alabama after coming back from a 17-point deficit. He was by far, clearly, unequivocally the best football player in college football. And he was people forgot he was the backup to Tim Tebow. And then after Florida, he went to JUCO college in Brenham, Texas, and he won a national championship there. So when I looked at Cam, and considering the lack of talent that he didn't have, the lack of talent he had during the time in Auburn, I think it was much more impressive. So to receive all these accolades, to put up these types of numbers during that year, even though it was only 1 year, I mean, I got to say Cam. I got to give it to Cam
Yeah,
in that one.
I'm not mad at that. No, I'm not going to try to rebuttal that, but Cam did his
Right.
thing.
And Maria responded, now I do think Cam is more skilled than Tebow, though. We all know Tim Tebow, he was terrible not only in the NFL, he was even terrible in practice, man. Couldn't even perform in practice.
Yeah,
And
he
we
was a
all
great
know
football
how
player,
he
though.
was as a
Tim
practice
Tebow
player.
was probably one of the best football players, but as quarterback, no.
No, he was horrible as a practice player. But anyway, folks,